Hi everyone, it's again Victoria and it's our third lesson in my course How to Start from Scratch Your Online Course. Today we're going to talk about the product mess. Here we're going to check price and volume, two key points that you have to analyze before you actually calculate and predict the profitability of your project. Let's go. First of all, let's a little bit synchronize. I remind you that in previous lesson we have checked what are the four possible combinations if we combine the marketing strategy of having a personal branding versus having an amazing offer and having very broad or very narrow market. So we have four combinations, and the best combinations are having wide audience. Doesn't matter if it's with personal branding or with a very nice offer. Then it's going to be also fine if you have a small narrow market, let's say very niche product, but still you have a very strong personal branding, and the no-go will be like no branding and very niche product. That's something that is very risky. Taking into consideration this kind of information, let's go and try to understand how do you place this product price-wise and volume-wise on the market. To actually predict the profitability of your project, I suggest that we place the four different combinations, those combinations from the previous lesson, on the graph. The graph was where X is actually the volume and the Y is actually the price that you can put on your product. And we're gonna see where you can actually have the cash flow and what are the combinations of how you can play with tariffs and the volume of the sales. So all online courses can be placed there, and we start with the one with personal branding and wide niche. What we can see here. So first of all, this is only one spot. After when I will add other ones, you're gonna see what I mean. The thing is, like, having a good personal branding allows you to have very wide audience. So you have the direct access to very large market, which places it on the very right. It's like the extreme right of the traffic. Because you have the wide audience, you can have a big traffic. The problem of the big traffic, of the wide audience, or like the very wide niche, is the problem is that you can't go very high with your pricing. The thing is, like, you're probably gonna be in a very competitive market. You're gonna have a lot of other experts who are gonna be selling the same thing, and even though you can reach a lot of people, you can be slightly more expensive than others if your branding is really strong. But there are some things you just can't sell bread for 500 euros. So everything has its limits. So that's why we place it quite low but very right. So basically the y-axis gonna be low because the price gonna be low. Here I put it around 30. It's approximative, but I put it on the 1,000 of volume. You can have a lot of traffic. Then let's say the opposite thing, where you have a very good personal branding but narrow niche. What is this? The particularity of this offer. The thing is, like, having a personal branding means that you have access to traffic organically, and this is good. But the problem is that the niche is very narrow, so you don't have that much of a market. At the same time, if it's very niche, it means that you have very little or almost no competition. And if you're a strong specialist, very recognized, you can actually make very high price. I have the experience of working with products which are sold like 3, 5, 4K, 5K, 6K online products. And those products, of course, require that you are actually famous. They require that you have a lot of contact with the audience and different type of contact. And they require that you actually input. The product is in a way unique. But the thing is, like, anyways, the amount of people ready to pay 5K for an online course is very limited. But I want to pay your attention that there are two extreme types of products. High volume, low price, high price, low volume. Both extremes of this line will make the same amount of money. The comparison between Louis Vuitton and Zara. Zara have much more of turnover, much more of traffic. Louis Vuitton will have much more expensive product, but Zara will probably even generate more money. So the thing is, like, those two extremes actually are in very good equilibrium, and whenever you place yourself on this line, you're going to be making more or less equal amount of money because it's going to be equilibrated by the amount of traffic multiplied by the price. So basically everything which is placed on this line is more or less the same amount of money. This is very important to understand, that if you place yourself on this line, you're going to be in a very good profitable position. Another story is if you have very good offer, so like sexy offer, wide niche. This is going to place you a little bit like lower in price, but down to the y-axis, but it's going to be placing along the x-axis. Why? Because you can't put high price on something that has no name, so no personal branding behind, and has wide niche, it has to be equal, like average to the market. So basically this is gonna be your choice of product. You're probably gonna generate less money, but in this case your strategy will be generating multiple products. So basically by generating several products, you can be at the same cash flow as the two previous cases. Let's say that if you have very good personal branding, very niche product, you will have to work on the LTV and sell to the same people upgrade of your product, new versions, personal follow-up. If you are on the personal branding but wide niche, so let's say on the extreme right of the graph, then your strategy will be the constant content, a lot of contact with the audience, and basically generating traffic. So basically if you have sexy offer, very good offer, no personal branded but wide niche, your strategy will be creating several parallel offers. So basically you will have 2-3 main products marketed separately, and you will create several cash flows which are going to be independent or interdependent, or also possible to sell them in bundles. Those are the 3 strategies that you can actually implement depending where you're placing your product on this line. And then you have the last option, the one that I do not recommend, when you have no personal branding and you have very narrow niche, so very low market. That means that basically wherever you place your price, it doesn't matter if it's 30 or 3,000, you just don't have market for it. You will not make money there and you probably have to abandon. This is my recommendation. It's not impossible, but let's say it's not worth it. There are much easier ways to make money. Everything has to be done with a lot of pleasure, and I do not recommend the hustle of trying to sell something which is a priori unsellable. You can see that at the end of the graph, the line is pretty much flat. It can be a little bit curved up and down, but it's gonna stay pretty much flat. Even though at the beginning it abruptly goes down. Why so? First of all, people who can pay like a certain amount of money, and let's say starting like 1,000 for an online course, there is not such a difference between 1,000 and 2,000 or 3K and 5K, because this is already very high check and the amount of those people is anyways very limited. On the other hand, if you put your price too low, let's say something that you pack very nicely, you say it's very good value, but you put your price too low, people will have immediately the impression that it's a fraud. I have that experience. We were launching a very nice product, it was very good offer. It was like 60 lessons for 60 euros. So basically it was €1 per lesson, immediate access, lifetime access, very good offer, very sexy. The problem was that a lot of people start it, and it was like no name. So okay, it was like no name, but very good offer and very wide audience. The problem was that we start receiving a lot of messages as if like, is it a fraud? It's too cheap. It doesn't sound good. It looks dodgy. So don't sell out too cheap. That's why this line will stay more or less flat. The thing is like the difference between 3K and 5K psychologically is less than difference between 50 and 200, for example. That's why exactly it goes abruptly down in the beginning, and it will stay more or less flat starting certain volume and certain price. I also want to show with you one example from my work. Once we were selling quite an expensive course starting from 3K, and of course it was a very multi-layered sales funnel because we needed to create a lot of contacts. Let's say the expert was quite known, but we were supposed to attract a lot of new traffic and warm up the people to buy this product like from scratch. We put on these 3 weeks and we created a lot of different point of contacts, videos on YouTube, shorts on YouTube, PDFs, different other kind of lead magnets, very detailed landing page for those who like to read, a lot of videos and images for those who like to watch. We were sending voice messages for those who prefer to listen, very useful lessons, for example live webinars presenting some piece of information, and purely presentational ones when we were only selling like Q&A type of webinars. And for those who were leaving the demands, we were after calling, the closer was calling, we were doing the sales. So basically it's very important if you were doing high check sales with very good offer, high check sales, and you want to not only count on your personal branding but as well try to seduce the newcomers, the newbies, the new audience, make sure you generate a lot of content and you produce a lot of multiple various contact with your audience. Now let's make some example of calculation. The thing is like the calculation you have to do are very simple. Don't do very complicated calculations. Why? the math in business should work on very simple transactions. If straight away on simple calculations you see it's not working, it's not gonna work. If it's working on simple transactions, you have a good margin, it's gonna work. Margin less of 30% is when you don't see money. So really aim at like 40, 50, 100% margin from your input cost. So normally cost of online production like this, especially if you are just launching, you are just starting, is very visible. You pay for the domain, you pay for the platform, you probably pay to the post-production, or if you're renting a studio, but more or less the cost of production is fixed and doesn't grow with the development of your audience. The more people buy, doesn't affect the cost of production. This is what you have to calculate first place. Second thing that you have to calculate is your cost of your living, the expenses you have for your living. Let's say, I don't know, depends where you live, but let's say just for the sake of calculation that you're comfortable living, that the minimum cost to cover every month is like 3K, for instance. Okay, you are covering 3K per month plus 500 for the business. So it will be 3.5 for the like minimum spending per month. So as my father always say, that the main instrument of the entrepreneur is the calculator. So we take a calculator and we start calculating. Let's say you plan to sell your product, your main product, for $40. Your business expense is equal to 500 and your cost of living is around 3K per month. Then you have to multiply it by 6. You have to make a minimum projection for 6 months, which will result in $21,000 that you have to generate with your online business in the next 6 months minimum. That's gonna say this is the minimum revenue you have to generate. Then you divide 21K in 40. This is 525 places to sell, which means approximately per month you have to go with 87 places. Then you can start to check the variation. Let's say if you make the price a little bit lower, a little bit higher, how it will affect the amount of places to sell. Basically, to sell something for 40 or 45 doesn't make any difference, but it will cut by 10 per month or 60 in 6 months necessary places, necessary sittings. So basically you can achieve your goals probably faster. I also tell you by my experience that the cheaper you sell your product, the more annoying are the clients. The more expensive the product, the more happy are the people, the more conscious they are. Cheap products are often buy from click and people will not come back to that, or they will forget that they have it, and then they will forget how to get the access. You will have much more problems with the people who buy cheap products than if you make your product a little bit better quality and you put a better price, and you will have more qualitative audience coming to study with you. So basically, adding just $5 per sitting will actually downshift it to 77 places per month, which is actually probably a little bit easier. It doesn't make that much of a difference than 10 sales. Here you can also calculate sales per day, how many per day you have to make. So basically, if you count 30 days, it's more or less 2.5 sales per day, which is kind of achievable. It sounds like a doable plan. It may happen that your expensive minimum cost of living is like 6K, right? So like that, plus 500 of business spendings, it makes 39K for 6 months, and that straight away raises the amount of places that you need to sell to 866 and approximately 144 per month, which is already making it around 4 sales per day. So also sounds doable, right? It doesn't sound like something overwhelming. 4 sales per day or $45, I think it's something that everybody can do. If those calculations sound doable, that's your financial plan. This is how you have to operate. You know how many sales per day you have to do. This is gonna be your target. I'm not including the cost of traffic, the cost of paid traffic in this calculation, because I'm gonna show you the system how you can auto-finance the traffic, and we're gonna try to aim at that, to auto-financing the traffic. Practical example number 2 will be based on the fact that if you have already had the experience of launching an online product and you have the data and you have some conversion rates and you can actually calculate a bit. So basically we will base on the same input data, like $40 per product. Your business expenses are like 500 per month, and your, let's say, minimum comfortable living cost is 3K. We're gonna start from that just for the sake of calculation. But let's say last time you were launching a product which cost like $35. You invested 500 in the advertising, you got 3,000 clicks, 30 sales, so your conversion rate is like only 1%, and cost per conversion is $16. To get 3,000 of income, you have to invest 1.5 in your advertising. This is a very bad conversion rate. It's a lot to invest. It's like X2. So basically, you can't probably cover auto finance completely, but at least half of that cost you can normally cover by the profit maximizers. I'm going to show you in the next lessons how to do that. But still, now you know your conversion. And this is when you start to check for the problem. problems. When was it exactly the problem? Why conversion rate was so low? Because it's very different situation if you have 500 demands or 500 clicks and 30 sales, or if you have 3,000 clicks and only 30 sales. The conversion rate is different, and the problem in this funnel is gonna be in different places. It's very visible. A lot of demand, small conversion rate. The problem is on the conversion rate step. Maybe the button doesn't work. Maybe the price is not good. Maybe something is not comfortable or not clear. But if you have, for example, very little demand but good conversion rate, it means the problem is on the demand level. So either you have to rephrase your offer, or you have to make your offer broader, or you have to address an alternative audience. By knowing your conversion rates on each step of the funnel, you can actually make a hypothesis what can you improve and how you can dial up your sales funnel. The moment you put down the theories, like the actual thoughts, what you can improve, we will step by step in the next lessons, in the next modules, we will go through the developing of an online course and setting up all the automations and all the technical things, and you will have to implement there directly what you have detected now. Try to analyze if you have already made the launches, at which point of the launch did you have a dramatical decrease in conversion? Was it a bad niche? Was your product not good enough? Maybe you missed the description. Maybe the pictures were not good. Maybe it wasn't the right audience. Try to put down and analyze it and come up with different hypotheses that you can test in this newborn product we're gonna do together. And if by any chance you are very experienced in launching and you landed up here in my online course and you have already generated like millions or 100,000 online courses and you would like to discuss something in private, just leave the comment under this lesson. I will be very open to this conversation. Maybe we can even make the open conversation so that others can actually get some added value from the analyzing of your funnel. In the next lesson, we're gonna be actually studying the Ben Hunt's awareness ladder, the theory, the means, the instrument of marketing, how to analyze your audience, and how to start make more sharp offers and target broader audience, not only horizontally but vertically. I will explain everything in the next lesson. See you, keep tuned.